King James
Dæmonologie shenanigans.
Daemonologie in form of a dialogue or conversation, divided into 3 books, written by the High and Mightie Prince James, by the grace of God, King of England, Scotland, France, and Ireland, Defender of the Faith, London, printed by Arnold Hatfield for Robert Walgrave, 1603.
Cha, I am so glad to have met with you today because I feel like you can help me to figure something out that I have some doubts about. I think you can help me better than anyone else I could have met with. Child, where I can. And what you would like to throw at me, I will give my opinion. And if I don't do a good job, I feel pretty good about the fact that there is a better reason. Come on with it. What you got? What do you think about this strange news, which has so many people carried away and up in arms, literally, every time they meet up? I mean, the witches. It's something else. I definitely believe that something like this has not happened anywhere else in the world or at any time, without a doubt. Not this time or anywhere else. There is no question if they are real, but I do doubt. What do you doubt about it? All of it. I don't get it. Basically, that there can even be something like witchcraft or witches. I beg you to please help me to understand this, if you will. I have good intentions to do the best I can, but I think it's going to be hard since you already denied it. For the most part, as they say in some big fancy schools, contra negatum principia known as disputum. It is not necessary to argue against the negative principles. For the most part, witchcraft and witches have always been and are right now. Witchcraft is proved by the scriptures, and witches are proved by daily experiences and confessions. I know you are going to bring up Saul's Pythoness, the so-called medium or witch of Endor, no pun intended. But that won't do. Not only that place, but a lot of others. But why do you say that won't do? Well, because of this. I want you to think about it. One, the Bible says Saul was fasting for a while. So he was pretty much toe up in the spirit. You see, he went to this woman that everybody knew worked with spirits and asked her about such important news. Two, we're reading the scriptures. He felt guilty about it, though. This is a pretty big offense to disobey God like that. Three, putting all of his good judgment aside, then the woman lets out a loud cry once she called up the spirit. She then saw that he was Saul, even though he tried to disguise himself and told an out and out lie. Then she caught him in the act. Apparently, as I understand it, Saul was somewhere else in the woman's house. He did not actually see her call up Samuel. She then became scared, as I don't know what, because she found out he was actually King Saul. She thought he tried to set a trap or kill her or something, because many people said what she did was indecent and unholy. They would believe this spirit to be the devil and his likeness. We don't know if it was Satan. It's hard to tell if God would let the devil come in the likeness of his saints around that time. The prophets could not always be sure what spirit spoke to them in their visions of that. The devil could not have told what was to come. According to them, prophetic utterances only came from God, and the devil had no idea about things to come. But if you would look at the Bible, you're going to see that Saul saw the spirit come up with his own eyes, despite the fact that Saul was in another part of her house. When she made the conjuration circles that are used in this type of spirit work, even though those in the tradition back in that day usually did not let others see them putting in spirit work. But it's right in the Bible that once this unholy spirit was wreaked and she brought up Samuel, that that's when she called Saul in there. It says it right in the Bible that Saul knew him to be Samuel. It definitely could not have been just because she seen an old man wearing a hooded robe. There were many more old men who had passed away that could have worn a hooded robe besides Samuel in that part of the country. And pretty much a whole bunch of people wore hooded robes back then. Now, truth be told, I'm going to say it was not the spirit of Samuel. You don't have to try and make me believe it was not Samuel, since every last Christian of whatever denomination would even agree with me on that. Only people that are totally ignorant or necromancers or witches would doubt it wasn't Samuel. Now the Bible does say the devil is permitted by God at times to put himself in the likeness of the saints. It is plainly said in the Bible that Satan can transform himself into an angel of light. 2 Corinthians 11:14. This has nothing to do with and will not take away from the visions of the prophets, of course. We can say for sure that God will not allow the devil to deceive his own, but God will surely let people deceive themselves. By running to the devil, they get caught up in their own trap. They cannot escape it. Once they are tricked into working with the devil, they make things look the way they want to, just because they would not believe the truth, like Paul said. And as for the devil telling the future, truth of the matter is the devil don't know the future. What it is the devil knows some things about the potential outcome of bad things to come that a woman's mind couldn't have even spoke about at that time. He could have told him that on his own. The devil could not have had any kind of ability to know things before it happened. Only God could. The devil could not look at God as if in a mirror. Only the good angels can do that. Basically, since the devil was forever kicked out from under the Creator's presence and face of God. But to know what he did know was only by one of two means, either by having knowledge of the world, and based on experiences, he would have knowledge of things to come. Since the beginning of time, this type of thing has been practiced. And sometimes we know what will happen before it happens based on experience with the same occurrences. It is possible to just know when some good or bad thing will happen in life. What goes around comes around. Or God, here we go, or God could have just used him like that. It's how he knew what would happen. This is the same type of thing that happened between Micaiah with that prophetic word to King Ahab in 1 Kings 22, which all proves what I said at first, that there is such a thing as witchcraft and witches. Like I said, there are many more places in the Bible than this. Like I said, number one, in the law of God, it is plainly prohibited. We know for sure the law of God is not spoken in vain. Neither does God cast curses or punishment on shadows of spirits, since that is condemned as vile. Exodus 22. And not true to the purity of who God is. Number two, it is plainly seen where wicked Pharaoh's wise men copied off quite a few of Moses' miracles to harden the heart of that oppressor. Exodus 7. Number three, didn't Samuel say to Saul that disobedience is like the sin of witchcraft? 1 Samuel 15. To compare it to something that wasn't real wouldn't make any sense. Number four, wasn't Simon Magus a man of that craft? Acts 8. And number five, what was a woman who had the spirit of Python? Acts 16. Besides many other places, too worrisome to bring up.